Hi guys, it's Les here over at orchidspecies.co.uk in Yorkshire, and today what I'm doing is I'm going to repot some Gongora flaveola plants, which is these. Now these are a plant that comes from Colombia, and it produces a flower stem from the base of the bulb here, and it comes out and it arches out, and it can be, oh I don't know, probably 2 feet long, full of sort of orange and yellowish flowers with a fantastic perfume. Now what I'm doing today with this is potting it into a hanging basket, and in this case it's a 12-inch hanging basket. It's one of the Kingfisher brands, and we'll be placing all 3 of these plants into this pot. And just to show you how fast this plant grows, I mean these 2 particular plants here were some that I found at the back of the greenhouse, which have been neglected a little bit. But I'll show you how fast it grows, because this plant is exactly the same age. This is from the same bottle, if you like, from the same batch, and it's absolutely gigantic, and it's already flowered umpteen times. So it's one of the plants that actually seems to grow bigger if you put it into a bigger pot, which is rather strange, because that's not normally the case. So what I'm going to do to start with is, this particular basket comes already fitted with a cocoa liner, but obviously you can buy cocoa liners, or you can actually buy the cocoa lining as a sheet and cut it out yourself. And you can use exactly the same process that we're going to use now. You can use the same process for things like Stanhopeas, where the flower would come either from the surface and hang down, or in a lot of Stanhopea cases it will actually flower from beneath the pot. It'll come out of the bottom. So if it's one of those that flowers downwards, what you need to do is make sure that this material, this coir, or cocoa liner, isn't too thick, because obviously if the flower stem or spike can't make its way through that, then you're not going to get any flowers. So if it is a bottom flowering one, what you need to do is get this cocoa lining and strip it back until so you've only got one very thin layer, and you can see light through it, and in that way, as soon as the pointed flower spike touches it, it will poke a hole through it. But at the minute in this, it will never get through. So just be aware of that and make the appropriate adjustments. So I shall take off these wires just to make it easier for us, otherwise we're going to be messy like that. Now, as I say, this particular plant comes from Colombia, South America, and it requires a minimum temperature of around about, well, I think around about 14, 15 degrees, and it seems to grow, well, as you've seen, like a weed. So now we've got that, I'll just get rid of this. And now I'm going to leave this cocoa liner just as it is, nice and thick, because this plant, like I say, it doesn't flower downwards, it flowers over the side of the basket. So we're going to start off, and I'm using the coarse orchid bark. It's plain orchid bark, and it's the 12 to 18 millimetre particle size. And there's a link on screen if you wanted to purchase some of this from our shop. Now I'm just putting enough in so that when I take these little plants out of the pot, it'll be more or less level, and I think that's about right. So what we'll do with these, as usual, we'll squeeze the pot to release the roots, and then just pull it out, and as you can see we've got lovely roots. It's actually a strange plant in that it will actually push itself out of the pot. The root system is such that it produces a lot of surface roots, and it will actually push itself out of the compost. So that's what we're doing. Look, I'm just putting a little bit around, just really to anchor it in position, because that's not the depth it's stopping at. I'm just going to take out the other 2, squeeze the pot. Compost, another nice root system. Now, as I say, I'm putting 3 in this. The other one that you've just seen, the large one, that had 3 plants in it as well. Right, so we've got all those plants now. And I'm going to position them more or less in the centre of the pot. Can you see that? Hopefully you can see that. Oh, I've got hold of it. I've got hold of all 3 plants, and I've got the bases at the same levels all the way around. And I'm just going to infill. Just keep going. And try and wiggle it in between with your fingers, between the roots. Turn it around a bit. Just scrape a bit more back. Now, as you can see, some of these have been growing at a rather strange angle, and that's because, as I said, they've been a little bit neglected at the back of the greenhouse, and they've grown out of the pots at strange angles. But that will all become right as soon as it starts to grow. Now, as you can see, these things are quite wobbly. As I say, they do have a tendency to push themselves out of the pot. So what I tend to do is use the sticks to position the plants upright. Like that. That's all you need to do. Easy peasy. Just do the other one. This one I'll position a bit more upright. And that's it. Easy peasy. That's as easy as that was. Now this thing needs a good water, and what you can do with this, actually, if you've got a large bucket, is that you can fill the bucket with water and then plunge it up to the neck so that it's in the bucket. If you've not, then what you can do is just water it several times, give it a good flush, flush it through, make sure it's nice and wet, and then leave it 10 minutes, do it again, and then the day after do it again, so that it gets it nice and damp, and then you should be able to water it as normal then. So all you need to do then is label it back up, we'll put the date on it, put the label in, and for me, this plant flowers in June. That's when this other one, this large one, flowered last. So I would expect this to flower next June, and by next June this will almost be the same size as the large one that I showed you. And it will just absolutely fill the conservatory or your greenhouse with the most delicious thick perfume. It's fantastic. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. I hope it helps you pot one of yours. And don't forget the difference between this plant, which is Gongora, and the Stanhopeas, is that many of the Stanhopeas, but the flower will come down through the pot. So you must, if it's a Stanhopea, thin this material, this lining material, so that the flower stem can actually poke its way through. So that's the only difference. Other than that, it's identical. So hope it helps you pot yours, and don't forget you can buy most of this stuff at orchidspecies.co.uk, and I'll catch you on the next video. And don't forget to subscribe, it costs you nothing. See you later.